Welcome to Soar Higher with Jason Ballard, a podcast developed for leaders by leaders to inspire you to reach your highest altitude possible by providing proven strategies, resources, and expert advice to accelerate your personal and professional success beyond what you thought was possible. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm Joel Weiland, and I'm joined in studio today by your host, Jason Ballard. And today we're going to talk about team dynamics. How you doing, Mr. Jason?
Hey, I'm doing great. Another great day, Joel.
It is. It is a Tuesday. Normally we record on Mondays, so everything's a little bit changed up. But I'm very glad that you're able to come and join me in studio today, my man.
Well, that's the essence of team dynamics. You're always adapting and adjusting with your folks.
Got to be flexible, absolutely. Well, friends, we've been kind of in just an ongoing discussion about what the crazy new world is like in the business sphere. We've kind of progressed mostly past COVID. I know that there's some like lingering, people getting sick here and there. I've actually heard a little bit more about it recently, which is kind of scary. I mean, the CDC seems to have kind of everything in more of a streamlined kind of thing nowadays. So I feel like we're kind of mostly out still. But there's definitely a lot of new stuff that people are still getting used to in the business world. And one of the main things, and the thing that we want to talk about today, is team dynamics. There's a lot out there, and we've talked about it on our show. We plan to continue to talk about it more in the future, about just talent acquisition, finding the right people. But finding the right people is one step, and then putting them together with a bunch of other good people is an entirely different matter. How to build teams, how to get leaders to work with people that aren't leaders, how to grow new leaders, how to put teams together. That's what we want to talk about today. So Jason, tell us what your personal definition of team dynamics is and why you think it's so important.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. In essence, really, Joel, if you break business down to a couple simple, basic things, business is about a product or a service. Business is about wrapping people around that product and service and deliver that to the best of your ability. And as you grow and scale, more and more people get added to that dynamic. Internal people that are employees, external people that are clients, and getting all of those people on the same page is critical. And at the essence, team dynamics really truly is defined as the ability of a diverse group of people coming from all walks of life, different age groups, different dynamics, demographics, to effectively work together in a synergetic manner to achieve common goals and objectives. And when you can bring people together and do that, you can win anywhere, anytime.
Ain't that the truth? Just in your personal experience, I guess one of my most curious questions would be, have you just helped a lot of people with team dynamics? Is that one of the main things that people need help with, I'm sure, in the executive sphere?
That is the number one challenge out there, really. Business is about people. It's, products and services are things you sell, but without people successfully, operating the business, selling things in the business, doing customer service in the business, marketing the business, etc., without those talented, really good people working together in a very harmonious manner, it doesn't work. It falls apart. There creates gaps. Things fall into gaps. People get unhappy. They quit buying their stuff because they're not getting the level of support that they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of at a high level, what are some I hesitate to say dynamics of team dynamics, but just some trends that you've seen, some things in people trying to build teams around them or around other leaders in their company. What's kind of the usual path that people take to build a good team around them?
Yeah. So in business, they go out, you individually have a need in the company, and you need a marketing person, you need a salesperson, or you need a manufacturing person or whatever, right? You need something from somebody that has special skills that they can contribute and do those particular functions, right? So you go out, you put a job description out there, you interview a number of people, you find the best person that fits those qualifications, hopefully, and it's somebody you think that you'll like and may fit on the team. And then half the time it's, very subjective in how they do that. And then they bring people in. Well, over time, you hire people come and go, and you're always, bringing different types of people into situations. And when that happens, the dynamics of the team, of the company, the culture start to evolve, right? And so sometimes that comes together and sometimes it doesn't. But a lot of managers will go out and hire a bunch of people. They'll put them together in a group and say, okay, everybody work together, play nice, and go do these things. And then a few months later, they're looking at some kind of, metrics or whatever, and they're not seeing some results. There's people knocking on their door, griping and complaining. There's drama. There's issues. Things aren't going very smooth. They start getting kind of chaotic, and they wonder what's going on. Well, what's going on is team dynamics are coming into play, and are causing barriers for the company to move forward. They start kind of taking the company backwards.
Yeah, I feel like as much as some owners may desire, like, people aren't robots. And so the personalities of the people that are employed are going to really essentially mark the success of any company in a lot of ways. And so the absolute importance of intentionally looking at not only what kind of people you want to hire, but the kind of people you want to hire to fit into the team that you already have must be extremely important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of mistakes that managers and leaders make once they bring people into the team. It's like, yeah, okay, let me introduce you to Sally over here. She'll be working with you. She'll show you the ropes. She'll, show you where the bathroom is. She'll show you what you need to do, where you need to go, and train you, and this, that, and the other. And the managers kind of go off doing their own thing. Everybody's busy. It's chaotic. Everybody's just busy, right? And then there's a lot of assumptions that are made that everybody's on the same page, everybody's understanding everything in the same manner that they're supposed to be, and most of the time they do not.
Yeah.
And they just get out of sync, and then some people like to build empires, some people have their own agendas, some people have been there a while, don't want to change, don't want to welcome new people on the team. People are dynamic in nature. Their brains just work in just very different ways and at different times. And we have emotions, we have feelings. There's just all kinds of things that go on inside of each of us individually. And so if you aren't taking those things into account as a manager and as a leader and engaging and leading and communicating effectively and shaping that team, expecting things to experience challenges with the team as the team flexes and grows and evolves and people come and go, is a grave mistake that they make. And you've got to be intentional about getting people working well together as a unified group. Just like, here in a few months, we'll be in football season. You'll see the Alabama Crimson Tide will come out and be operating as a solidified team. You'll see in the first few weeks of football, you'll see it. The folks that are not solidified as a unified team, everybody's doing their assignments, but also watching each other's back and communicating, will stumble, will fall, will lose games.
Absolutely. And you played sports growing up,
of course,
right? Yeah, absolutely. As did I. And I think you see the outward expression of that on the TV, on the football field. But you and I both know from personal experience that the personalities of each of those people on the team have to have a huge effect. I remember just the high school teams I was on. The captain of the team was a specific way, and some of the other players were specifically not that way. And so the guy that was chosen to be the captain was chosen for very good reasons, and he led our team very well. And those, I think, are just really important things for leaders in business to think about. Like, it is okay to look at the personalities of your workforce and say, hey, this person would be good at this. This person, Sally, she doesn't like doing this, and so she's awesome at what she does, but she's not going to fit into this role. Absolutely. So there's just a lot of intricacy. This is something that I've heard of before. Haven't dived in too much until we were researching for this show, but where did this come from? What's the background in the American workspace of the idea of team dynamics?
Yeah. This originally started by a guy named Kurt Levin in something called group dynamics, and then later evolved from to Bruce Tuckman's work in this study, which evolved into team dynamics, right? Where, as Harvard Business School has revealed in their research of studying companies and different types of organizations and the teams, within those organizations, they discovered out of their research that 3 out of 4 teams out there in organizations are dysfunctional. And the implications of that is loss of productivity, lack of performance, low morale, dropping off of customers. I mean, it does have a massive impact just by not allowing people to work together the right way.
No, that's definitely very apparently obvious. I just think of even the company that I work with. We're kind of a startup, so the place that I work in specifically, we have a whole bunch of employees in a different state, but there's just not very much of us. There's not very many of us here. So, if one guy's having a bad day or if someone's out sick, like there's a lot of slack to pick up. It's very important that each of us are functioning, one, in our specific role, and then ultimately two, as a team, as a vibrant and team that trusts each other. So yeah, absolutely. Old Kurt Levin knew exactly what he was talking about.
Well, they've got this thing down to a science, and I'm just surprised, when I go out there into businesses, how many people haven't heard of it, how many people aren't using it, how to leverage it. And when I teach it to them, I mean, it is some major light bulb moments. Most people just, there's a lot of assumptions out there.
Yeah.
When you become a supervisor, when you become a manager, you have these responsibilities for hiring people, firing people, building teams, and solving problems and dealing with everyday things that go on in the organization. What they lack are some of the fundamentals, because everybody's so busy, everybody's under pressure, everybody's, competing, and the economy, especially right now, is struggling. And so they're just laser focused on go, do, produce something, get it out the door, answer the mail and move on to the next thing. But when it comes to people, you can't gloss over these things, right? And so you have to understand, and where a lot of leaders make mistakes is they don't truly understand their people on the level they need to.
Yeah.
Their strengths, their weaknesses, their personality types and styles, where they're at, their things that are related to their demographic. People that are millennials and Gen Z operate and think differently than the boomers and than the Gen X's, right? Those things are important. You have to be mindful of those things so you know how to arrange the team and best position people on the team to get maximum effectiveness out of them.
Absolutely. And one thing that I've always really appreciated that we've, I think, tried to do on this show is, in order to know like the principles, the main things that you can actually apply to yourself, to your leadership in the business sphere, you got to start with the problem. and that's exactly what you're saying. What is the problem? So what are just some very basic signs of a bad team dynamic?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, and a lot of people don't recognize this when it's happening. Sometimes it hits them right in the face and they have no idea. They'll be telling me the problems and have no idea what some of the things they're telling me really is the problem.
Yeah, so I thought this was normal.
Yeah. And so one of the things that is completely obvious is there are people in different phases of their career and they show up to work with different intentions. Some people have egos. Yeah. Some people are trying too hard to climb the corporate ladder, trying too hard to be competitive and outperform and get recognition and what have you, and trying to prove themselves, which really stems from maybe some insecurities or lack of confidence. They try too hard. Some other things could be, some people like to build empires. They like to build their own little empire inside of the company, and it causes some fraction. It causes the company to fracture in a couple of different ways, right? It loses the cohesiveness.
Too many sheriffs in town, kind of
well,
thing. Well,
yeah, and some people they may not like certain things about the company, and they'll, as they say, misery likes company, right? So they'll go off and try to, talk trash at the water cooler and build an allegiance of people and try to, create their own entity. I've been working for a very large organization here in the United States that has that same exact issue. One of their leaders is responsible for a significant portion of things in the West Coast of the United States. Very big responsibility. However, has gotten a little disgruntled and has disagreed with things in the company, hasn't handled it the right way, and has decided to kind of complain and go find people and create little pockets of griping and complaining and kind of eroding away what the company's culture is about and not leading, just kind of taking things in a different direction. It's fracturing. It's causing divisions, causing wedges in between people in the company, because everybody needs people in the company. We all need HR support. We all need IT support. And if you're drawing wedges in there just because you don't like something or you can't handle something, that is, very, very impactful.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars in impact right there.
Man. So what happened to that gentleman or lady?
He is still being coached.
Yeah.
We had to kind of figure out what was going on there. And there's a lot of dynamics there between the leadership team and the communication and the expectations. And, this particular employee, one thing that really stood out to me the most when I got to talking about this with the employee is when I got to, on expectations, and I asked him a question. I was like, well, you are a leader, right? Mm-hmm. You do lead a group of people, over 100 people in an organization, right? You are supposed to set the example, right? And he looked at me like I was something wrong with me, like I was crazy. And I was like, well, hold on, time out. Are you or are you not a leader in this company? That was the first point we started dialing on the issue. He saw himself as one of the guys.
Interesting.
He did not see himself as a leader in the company. He felt everybody in the corporate office they were the leaders. And dude's been in the company well over 20 years. He's one of the most seasoned guys, highly productive. And the reason why they asked me to coach him is because he's got an attitude problem, right? And so once we started digging in on that, and I was like, well, time out. What's your definition of a leader?
Yeah.
And he kind of mumbled and fumbled around that. I was like, no, here's the definition of a leader. Is that you or not? And it took me probably about 15, 20 minutes of questions and talking to him and really putting him under the microscope for him to realize and admit he is a leader. I was like, well, don't leaders set the example? Yeah. Don't leaders create allegiances and teams, aren't you supposed to do things this type of way and that kind of way? Yeah. Well, then are you doing that? No.
Moment of truth.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
And so that was causing on its own internal team dynamics on his own team and dynamics between other functional parts of the company, within the leadership ranks, the corporate level, the supporting agencies, human resources, all of these other groups, legal. I mean, all these different groups were involved to support his team, but everybody was scared of the guy. Everybody didn't want to deal with the guy. It slowed everything down. Nobody wanted to support him. Everybody just wanted to be distant because he came across very strong and direct and, the company's not doing this and the company's not doing that. People took that personally. Like, what do you mean we're not? We're working our butts off for this company. Yeah. Who are you to call me up and complain and get in my face that we're not doing something for the company? We're just not doing it your way, which is not the right way.
Yeah.
So, hello.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the dynamics of organizations at the end of the day goes down to a personal level, evolves into a team level, which allows the organization to be successful once you have those things in sync together. It's just really difficult to recognize it and then put those things into play the right way.
Yeah. So a couple lessons that I heard from that really just practical story is one, if you're a leader, you got to realize that you're still a part of a team. There's never, I mean, maybe there's like the, if you're like the chairman of the biggest board, the executive board on your company, you don't have anyone to answer to. Well, you have to probably answer to your shareholders or the other people invested in your company at that point. So really, there's never going to be a place when you're not held accountable to a team around you. And then the second thing that I heard you say was that people shouldn't underestimate their role. Like even if you think you have better ideas, even if you think you can identify issues with the overall productivity of your team, you're still going to function better as a part of that team. Like being a lone ranger isn't going to help you in the long run.
No, not at all. There's a quote, very famous quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. A lot of entrepreneurs are like that. They want to go fast. They're very innovative. They're creative. I just signed a particular entrepreneur as a client just last week, and he is go fast mode. He's pedal on the metal all the time, right? Which is good. And I love that. Entrepreneurs are awesome and just smart and just ambitious, willing to take risk, and they believe and they're passionate about what they're doing, and they can pretty much accomplish anything they want to do. The challenge is once whatever it is they're doing gets a lot of traction and they take off with it, then you need people around to support it. This particular entrepreneur is in a position, well, we call it the founder's trap, right? That's where too many things revolve around the leader for decision-making, for approvals. They're too involved in too many things going on in the organization, and they've got to delegate. They've got to, kind of create those team dynamics themselves and turn things over to the experts that can really do it better, faster, cheaper than they can. And so team dynamics is an interesting thing to take people through, especially if they've never gone through it, which most people haven't. As Harvard studies reveal, 3 out of 4 teams are dysfunctional, meaning they don't have good team dynamics. The company has not been intentional about implementing a team dynamics strategy around grouping their people the right way to best align those resources to get optimal results, for them in their careers and what they're trying to achieve, and as well as for the company. And so I get the question a lot, well, what is team dynamics? What is this thing you're really talking about? I get it, people coming together to work together, but it's a 4-phase process. You cannot go around. There is no cheating. There's no moving, to number 2 or number 3 sooner than later. Whether you implement team dynamics or you do not, you will still go through this process the hard way, the easy way, or some sort
completely out of control or actually in control.
However that may go, you're going to go through it whether you like it or not. So I always recommend, do it the easier way and plan for that and build into that versus just jumping, throwing everybody in the deep end of the pool and hoping they can swim and survive another day, right?
Good luck, new hires. Yeah.
So the 4 phases of team dynamics are this. The first and most important phase is forming.
Okay.
When you put people together, right? So you think of a football team, think of the military. You bring people from all over God's creation together. You put them in the same room, put them in the same group. They're forming. They get to know each other. And that phase, everybody's nice and friendly. Hey, how's it going? Where are you from? Who are you? What do you do? And how do you do that? And everybody's buddy, and everybody's getting to know each other. And it's, we call it kind of the honeymoon phase, right? And people, you give them their task, you give them their responsibilities, you give them their goals and objectives, and kind of start plotting out a plan for everybody to work together and do their thing. And then you get down the road a little bit, usually a few months into that, Then you go into phase 2. It's called storming.
Ooh.
Now, that's exactly what you think it is.
Yeah.
That's when the honeymoon's over a little bit. People are starting to bump heads. They're starting to step on toes. They're starting to be a little more assertive, a little more, focused on the things that they're doing in their lane.
Yeah.
Right. And so the team starts kind of bumping off, kind of like bumper cars. They start bumping into each other. There's some gossip. I can't believe she said that in the meeting. I can't believe he did. Why I should be the one to be doing that.
Personalities start to show up, I'm sure.
You're going to see, some of the things we talked about earlier with the causes and the signs to look for, a little bit of a lack of loyalty, some people building an empire. You potentially could see some leadership develop with some people. You can see some weaknesses develop in people. It's a dynamic in which people will create friction among themselves in trying to sort out where everybody needs to be. Once you form, everybody's kind of working together, and then you start bumping into each other. Everybody needs a lane to be in, and not everybody in a rowboat can be in the very first seat, right? Everybody's got to find their seat. Everybody's got to, figure out the rhythm and row the boat in the same direction at the same time. The storming phase is critical. Everybody's scared of it because nobody likes drama. Nobody likes gossip. Nobody likes fighting and arguing and arm wrestling and he said and she said and going through that process. But it is critical. You cannot cheat people out of going through that phase because that's where people learn to respect each other. That's when they learn people's strengths and weaknesses. That's the pressure cooker moment of where they feel the pressure, they feel some stress, and how they respond to that comes out in that phase. And that is critical for knowing how to leverage each other and where people's breaking points are in doing the things that they're doing.
I feel like you would want to really make sure you're paying attention during that phase as a leader to be able to identify.
If you're not, you're making a critical mistake.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That is the time to be really, that's when the real true character comes out. That's where the rubber really meets the road. Go through that. However, I also caution that you do not don't let people stay in that for 3, 4, 5 months. If you stay in it too long, you may not get out of it. Yeah. Right. So going through it, yes. If people are hung up and they're struggling to get out of the storming phase and, go to the next phase, leadership's going to have to step in and usher that along and agree to disagree or whatever they need to do. They're going to have to usher that along. Yeah. Once that happens, then you move into phase 3. Which is norming. That's when the dust starts settling. People start getting, very comfortable with their lane, their responsibilities. They trust each other. They know that, little Johnny over here is going to do his thing and Sally over there is going to do her thing, and everybody trusts everybody. Everybody's doing their thing. Everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction at the same time, at the same frequency, and they're starting to really get some results and traction and the vision of what they're supposed to be doing and what success looks like starts to shine a light. There's light at the end of that tunnel, and they're like, man, this is working, man. This is real. We really got this thing figured out. Once that happens, then you go to the ultimate level of team dynamics, which is performing. That's where everything is hitting on all cylinders. That's when the company's working as a well-oiled machine of everything, the processes, the systems, the parts and the pieces. All of those things are working at optimal levels, which allows the company to make bigger strides in their journey.
Yeah. So then, if I can ask, does this process start all over every time you hire a new employee, or is it just kind of the overall kind of cultural normalcy that your team develops along the way? as
They,
your
they
company
call
matures?
it team dynamics for a reason. It's a living, breathing thing, right? Once you take a team through that and they reach the optimal performing level, that's great. But the world doesn't change. The company or the world does change all the time. The only constant in life is change, right? So people are going to come and go. Leaders are going to come and go. The vision or the mission of the company may change. New products and services, things are going to change all the time. Anytime there are some significant changes to the team, the construct of the team, the dynamics of the team, you will go back to square one. You will reform. If you add 5 new members to a 10-person team, they go from 10 to 15, they will have to go back to forming and pull the new group in and figure out, roles and responsibilities and who's good at what and who's going to do what and how to trust each other and get to know each other on a personal and professional level. You have to go through team dynamics all over again and build right back up to that optimal level.
Yeah, living and breathing, man. Well, we've talked about a definition of what team dynamics is. We've talked about just kind of the normal pitfalls that people can find themselves in, that 75% of all teams are not functioning how they should be, just some signs of that, and then just the normal process that everyone's going to go through, whether or not they're in control of it or whether or not it's kind of in control of them. What are some tips? So say I'm a business executive, say that I'm trying to build my team, say that I can now finally, after hearing that, identify kind of which one of those 4 phases I'm in. What are some just practical tips that I could implement to grow my team dynamics in a healthy way?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is ask you and your leadership team a question. Are we performing at optimal levels? Are we operating in the best way possible?
Ask the questions first.
And if you look at each other in the room and say, yeah, we could do better, then okay, I advise you to look at these 7 tips. The first one is understanding the talent of the team, from the senior leadership all the way down to the frontline employees, the managers, supervisors. One, they need to understand what team dynamics is and how to build a team, how to select members of the team, how to bring them together, how to best pair them up, connect them, and align them, right? You need to understand people. You need to understand what makes people tick. There are things you can do. You can leverage things like DISC assessments, very inexpensive way to understand who these people are you bring in. When you bring them into the team, give them a DISC assessment. And that tells you, it's 100 years of science and research. It's the most accurate, assessment of somebody you can take that's on the market today. I use it all the time. Understand those people. Don't just take their word for, I'm good at this and I'm good at that. No. Really, truly understand what they are really, truly good at and what their aspirations are and where they're wanting to go with things. Understanding those people on a heart and soul level is step 1. Step 2 is clear roles and responsibilities. Everybody can't do everything on the team. We use the analogy of like football. Everybody can't be the quarterback. Everybody can't be the running back. Everybody can't be the coach, right? Everybody has a role. You have, on a football team, you have size, you have strength, you have, throwing ability, kicking ability. Everybody has different skills and abilities. You've got to kind of organize that and put the right people on defense in the right positions. You got to put the right people on offense in the right positions and then get them to work together off the playbook that you built, managing those team dynamics the way you need to get optimal results. People like Nick Saban are masters at that.
Oh, yeah.
So clear roles and responsibilities of everybody on the team and who's going to do what. So they know the lane they need to be in and how to maximize, what they bring to the table in their contributions to the team. Number 3 is when you bring a group of people together and you give them things to do and you take them through team dynamics of the forming, storming, norming, and performing, they have to have a purpose. Like, what are we doing this for? It sounds great, I'm all in, but what are we doing it for? They need goals. They need objectives. They need to be working towards a vision of a better product, a better service, a better experience, a better company, a better world, a better something, right? They need common goals and objectives to all be working towards, or you'll stay in storming and they'll all create their own.
The Lord of the Flies action.
They'll all create their own goals and objectives and create their own agendas and march to their own beat because they feel they need to do that to succeed and showcase themselves successfully so they don't, so they can continue to grow in their career, right? Number 4 is a culture of respect and trust. Going through the process of the 4 phases of team dynamics allows you to build the culture of trust and respect for each other, that you don't get in each other's lanes, you back each other up, you help each other, you support each other. If somebody's sick or down or hurt or, just having a bad day, you support each other and help each other, but you don't come in and take over each other's stuff, and you trust that they're going to do what they're going to do. Number 5 is effective communication. I think that's critical. The leadership has to communicate with the team has to communicate within the team, and everybody needs to be on the same page. And that takes constant communication every single day on every single way. The 6th thing is praising people and celebrating success along the way, right? Yeah. Nothing is more demoralizing than to build a team, go through team dynamics, achieve really good things, and then nobody recognized that they achieve really big and bold things, right? You leaders and the team themselves have to take time out to celebrate the success and appreciate each other, high five each other, et cetera. And then number 6, continue to challenge yourself. Continue to challenge each other on the team. At the peer group level, continue to challenge people from the leadership level down to the team. Okay, great. You achieve goals A, B, and C. Tomorrow, we're coming in and doing D and E. And here's what those goals look like. And they're bigger and they're bolder, and you're continuing to stretch. If not, people will get complacent. They'll start getting bored. They'll start griping and complaining more. When you challenge people and continuously engage that team and stretch and pull and give them targets to shoot for and give them the tools and the resources to do it, they will do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And man, that's encouraging, Jason. Let me just say that, like, I think that anyone listening to this show can look at their own team, can do that simple audit, and if there are issues, if you're discouraged about some aspect of your team, I bet you $100, not of my money, maybe of Jason's money.
I got plenty of.
I'll bet you $100 of Jason's money that you can identify where one of those things is lacking on your team, and then pinpoint that, unfortunately, potentially in a person. And what I would encourage you with is just don't be afraid of confronting that shortcoming in that person, because most of the time that person is going to want to change and become a better, more functional part of that team that ultimately leads to a better team dynamic. That's so important.
Well, folks out there, if you're not leveraging these tools, you are putting yourself at a major disadvantage, because a lot of companies out there do it. And those that do it are more successful than the folks that don't. Yeah. And so, I'll quote one of my favorite quotes from Michael Jordan, the great all-time Chicago Bull. Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships.
Ain't that the truth?
And that really, truly is the essence of the team and the team dynamics. Yeah. Michael Jordan learned some of those rules, some of those concepts when he was on the Bulls. He was the alpha dog on the court. He was the star. He scored the most points. He was the dynamic people everybody came to see, and he was great. He'll go down the history books as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But he also realized he couldn't be successful. The coach of the Bulls at that time realized they couldn't be successful without the other players wrapped around him Scottie Pippen and some of the other legendary players on that team allowed Michael Jordan to do what he did, and he facilitated them doing that. And so they went through that experience when they formed that team, the dream team. When you think about the Olympics and Jordan and Magic Johnson and some of the old school heroes back in the day that was on the dream team, they went through those team dynamics together because they came from different teams, different styles, and all went to represent the nation and went on to dominate as the dream team back in the day.
Absolutely.
So,
last question as we close, Jason: is it ever too early to start working on your team dynamics? Say you got a small startup, say you're an entrepreneur, is it ever too early to start working on your team dynamics?
Absolutely not. You've got to be as a leader, you got to be thinking about those dynamics day one.
Yeah.
Because the question is, well, you're going into business to grow the business, to make money, to do things, to sell things, to make the world a better place, whatever your purpose is. Great, you go sell something tomorrow, then what? Are you prepared? Well, if you're not, then you're probably going to fail. And a lot of startups in the first few years go out of business. In fact, 72% of them go out of business in the first 3 years because they don't think all the way through the things that are really most critical, right? They think about product, service, sales, bring in money, cash flow, hire some more people, and keep going and hope the wheels don't fall off the plane in the process, right? They don't think through the dynamics of once they start hiring people and how that's gonna play itself out. They're not aware of these tools. So get aware of these tools. If you're not, feel free to reach out. We'll have a conversation about it. I'll show you the tools, give you some tools, and help you understand these dynamics. When you do, you'll be a lot better off for it.
Yeah, you can soar higher.
You can absolutely soar higher with these principles. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Sweet. Well, thank you so very much, Jason. And thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soar Higher with Jason Ballard. All of our social links for LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram will be in the show notes. Please like and subscribe. We're always looking for new ways to interact with our listeners. So if you got just an interesting topic or something new that maybe we haven't discussed before on the show that you would like to hear Jason and I talk about, please reach out. If you're interested in learning more about Jason specifically and his work as a business and an executive coach, you can please visit soarhighercoaching.com. Again, that is soarhighercoaching.com. And join us again next week as we provide more insight on how to overcome the latest business and career challenges people are facing in the workforce today. We'll see you next week.